Welcome everyone to episode 85 of Apron Work Podcast with Chia Boys. I am your host, Michael Respass, and with me as always is your doctor recommended dose of nerdiness, Carlos Rodriguez, your nerd today. Carlos,
hey.
How you doing?
I'm good.
I missed the AKA. I'm sorry.
Oh no!
I just realized when I did it.
I missed it yesterday when I did my reactions to 6-1 Indies indie showcase.
I figured you now have your intro. I gotta add it to this.
Yeah.
So So not only was that a new intro, but here's a segue here to the episode here. AEW just introduced something new that they're doing for the first time. They just announced on 420, which was a little apropos, that they announced a joint pay-per-view.
Yeah, because you got high to even think that this was actually happening.
Yeah, they made sure it's a joint pay-per-view with New Japan Wrestling, the pro wrestling. They announced a joint pay-per-view for Sunday, June 26th at the United Center. Like we said, it's always Chicago now.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Sick and tired of it.
Yeah, eventually. Let's
Khan always talking, I love Philadelphia. Watch Wednesday when we go. I love Philadelphia. This is the home of hardcore. This is the home of wrestling. You can see me in the background ECW episodes. You know what, motherfucker? How about this? Throw a goddamn pay-per-view here.
We want the Forbidden Door. I don't even think I said it. So the name of the pay-per-view is Forbidden Door. Kind of makes sense. They've been pushing the whole thing. Tony screwed up the whole meaning of it the last time with Keith Lee, so he needed to make up for it. So now let's make a pay-per-view with the name of it.
It's almost a shame this leaked.
Yeah.
It's professional wrestling. We're just excited. It was the same thing with Punk. Like, that leaked, and it's like, you know what? I'm just happy this stuff is happening.
And it's hilarious too, because around the time that they announced when Tony bought ROH, if you remember right, there was about 4 or 5 different things that could have been, and I'm fairly certain we're getting all of them within the next year. So I don't. It all leaked and they sold it as rumors, but I'm fairly certain that they were all in the talks, just not ready to be talked about yet. And hell, they all could have been ready, but they're trying to space out the announcements. I know I'm sorry. I was going to say I have an article from Sports Illustrated that interviewed Tony Khan, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I wanted to bring up something that I was about to say on the pre-show, and then I was like, wait, hold on, let's save it for the show. We've mentioned this plenty of times during Apron Work, and AEW is born because the Bucks and Cody and Kenny, who were working at New Japan and Ring of Honor, wanted to make a show, and they were like, you can't do a show, you can't fill this 10,000 people arena, whatever. They did it. It was all in. Fully funded, or like a huge funding effort of that was ROH. Right.
Then, of course, they gave him the tools and the confidence. And, of course, TK came in and there was like, hey, you guys did it. So you guys want to do this every week? And AEW is born, right? ROH is pissed. New Japan's pissed. Rumors of them, like New Japan fucking with Kenny when he's trying to come back to Japan. And now, fast forward, AEW launches 2019, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2019. Yeah. So around that time, I think, right? 2019.
Yeah, because they just had the 2-year anniversary October, right? That we were just there. For the 2-year.
Yeah. So yeah.
Dynamite anniversary anyway.
That's fair. Yeah. And now Tony Khan owns ROH, and they are teaming up with New Japan Pro Wrestling for a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And this is truly, in the most quickest fashion, a never say never thing. I honestly, they were working together, and I thought that I knew we'd eventually get here, because I knew once TK
they needed to establish themselves a little bit. Yeah. I think they needed to scratch the others' backs for a little bit too.
Yeah.
He had to show him, like,
exactly.
hey, I'm not a bad guy. Like, I want this to become one big thing. It is us against them, you know,
It is
and that's
every promotion against WWE.
Yeah, and that's what he sold it as at the beginning. But it's hard when you're taking everybody's top talent and saying it's us against them, and it's like this doesn't seem like us against them. It seems like you against us right now.
To equate it to a comic book reference, it feels like when Nightwing, you know, when Dick Grayson gets fired by Batman, V and Robin, he's like, fuck this, I'm gonna be my own man, then fine, I'll be Nightwing. Fights Batman, but it's like constantly like, fuck you Batman. Finally, like, they mend their shit and they like come back together. He's like, all right, I'm back in the fold, I'm with you, but I am my own man. This is exactly what this feels like. This feels like, hey, no, we're gonna do our own thing. We'll piss a lot of people off, but we'll get there. And now they're there, and it's like, I mean, we literally have Bullet Club.
All right. Well, that's
we had 3 different factions talked about, and 3 of the biggest factions, like, in modern wrestling, where you have the Undisputed Era, the Bullet Club, and the Elite.
Yeah.
And now the Undisputed Elite is teaming up with the Bullet Club.
All right. Yeah. Now, and that's what. See, you used a reference from your world. I'll use one from mine. That's what all this issue from the beginning happened, because it was kind of like the Red Sox signing a bunch of lower market teams players to big contracts, saying, no, we're here to beat the Yankees. They're like, yeah, it sure don't feel that way. You know? Really? And it's like, no, we're here to help. Like, you're here to help yourself, and that's what, and that's, you know, they needed to establish themselves. You never knew what was going to happen. It's kind of like Punk talked about that when AEW first started. He said, I hear billionaires and millionaires all the time telling me they're starting a promotion. You know, you need to see if they have something legitimate, and as much as it sucks because Chicago's not that close to us in the sense that, like, if it was New York or something like that, we could drive there. Hell, even Boston. You had mentioned Baltimore, DC. Any of those places we can get to a little bit more easier than Northeast. It sucks, you know what? But it's also where it all started, and I guess I can understand it. It's like that was the place that probably gave them the chance. So now they feel like they need to kind of pay it forward.
What does Pro Wrestling Tees have on them? We can't even be like, hey, let's go to What a Maneuver. They shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, we push for that. I'm sorry, EJ and Duca. I was one of the promoters you wanted to know where to put your shirts at, and I pushed for that along with some other people. I apologize.
Man, Stream Elliot's Bonfire, you know, Teespring. You know, I know there's wrestling ones. But not maybe do with wrestling ones.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge in the sense that, and I know everybody's had a problem with Tony Khan with his huge announcements. This is huge.
It's just a cocaine.
It's not. Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I know he oversells the shit out of it, but he has to. You're not going to say, we have an announcement. It's not that big. And you're like, look, it's the big show. And it's like, well, no, you're going to say it's huge. Why wouldn't you? It's... I know a lot of...
You just literally meant literally huge. Not,
yeah.
Not figuratively huge.
And, like, people get upset. I read somewhere where somebody said... where they said this is more for hardcore fans when, like, it was kind of getting rumored what it might be. Yeah. And they said, yeah, the news is more for hardcore fans. And a lot of people are annoyed because they're like, yeah, this is for hardcore fans. And that's great, but you're not building the product. And... what I say to you as a hardcore fan of wrestling myself is, fuck you. I don't want them to expand the product if it takes away from what I'm enjoying. As long as TNT is happy, as long as everybody else is happy with the numbers they're doing, and they're not expecting this huge amount of growth, I will take around 1 million views or, you know, whatever they're doing on the Nielsen ratings or whatever. They'll take it too. And they're going to get more money. And them thinking that because they're hovering around that 800 to 1 million, that they're somehow doing bad. TNT is absolutely happy with it. To the fact that all these rumors that have been coming out, one of the biggest ones is that they're actually talking to Warner about bringing on some type of ROH show. Mm-hmm. I don't think they talk to them about that if they're secretly not happy with what's going on. They're still doing huge numbers. Is it WWE numbers? No. Is it old WCW, WWF numbers? No, it never will be. Again, wrestling will never be that big again. It just won't. Unfortunately, it will not. Too many things have happened. Too many people, not just have we grown up and that's when it was big. Concussions happen. Steroids happen. Guys not, being paid the right way, having to pay. Too much stuff has come out where people are like, nah, screw this. WWE became, South Park makes fun of it, where it became a soap opera almost. And not to knock it, people watch shit like that. But it's hard to bring everybody back at that point. And then when you put it on, and this goes back to the first All In with the Dick Druids and stuff, when you try to watch it and you see stuff like that, you're like, this is exactly what I left WWE for.
Yeah. and to be honest, like with this show, with Forbidden Door coming out, and to say like this is only for hardcore fans, yes, right, that we are the target audience, but you can't tell me as a casual, as a Rebecca Valentine, reporter at IGN, who every Wednesday has been getting into wrestling because of AEW.
Right.
Does she literally saw, what was it? Adam Cole debuts, right? Colorado debuts. And they make mention in that first encounter. Hey, I know a couple months ago we were at each other's throats and we were about to kill each other. But AEW is different. This is a new landscape. We're going to team up together again, whether you like it or not. Because we need to survive, right? Acknowledging that at NXT, they try to murder each other.
Yeah.
and that's how Adam Cole left NXT. Kyle O'Reilly murdered him, basically, in that ring, right? So that's acknowledgement without saying anything. So if you're a fan like you and I, we know what that is.
Right.
Rebecca does not. And you know what? She was like, oh, they have history. That's cool. And she got it. She understood in that one segment, they have history. They did a good job of introducing that fact, and that she doesn't need to watch NXT. Would I want her to watch NXT, especially the black and gold? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go back. And I tweeted at her, right? There's nobody who wants to break into the gaming industry goes like, hey, right here. Hi, my name's Carlos. I have a wrestling podcast. Listen, they have been friends forever, and they actually literally try to murder each other on NXT. Here's a clip. And I just said, and she's like, oh, this is crazy. You don't need that. You could be like her and her boyfriend Imran. You don't need to have that knowledge base.
Right.
And they're enjoying it. She hates MJF the way you're supposed to hate MJF.
Yeah.
She likes Kenny Omega because of his athleticism and his stupid jokes, and then he's a bad guy, so she hates him. She likes Adam Page because of the cowboy shit. She's fully in. This pay-per-view is only going to open her eyes up to Okada, to Los Ingonables, to Chaos in general, to Jay White. The world is going to expand. It's fucking, Nick Fury at the end of Iron Man.
Yeah.
You think you're the only one? Here's the whole world.
Yeah, and that's what I guess when I say hardcore, and I'm even talking about casual, I think an AEW casual fan is different than a WWE casual fan, and it's just really different right now. A casual fan for AEW is somebody who's kind of either getting back into wrestling or saying, "Oh, this is interesting." And I think their numbers hurt worse because I don't think people watch wrestling in general live anymore. WWE's numbers, I think, stay where they are because it's kids that watch it more often, and kids watch it live. Kids are more likely to sit down. Their parents can be like, all right, it's Monday night. You put Raw on, you go do your chores for the night or whatever, and while the kids are sitting there watching wrestling. And that's kind of where I think their numbers come from, where I very rarely watch AEW live, but I watch every week. So I think
I'll try to catch as much live, but we usually film.
Yeah.
And as much as I would want it on in the background, I'm gonna get distracted. And we're gonna have a shitty episode.
That's where Mark, your old entrance ramp buddy.
Yes.
try to give me shit for missing the Sixers while we were recording. I'm like, now I can watch the Sixers off this side.
Did that. Oh, so you had Sixers on one side and then you had AEW on the other?
Well, actually, I ended up watching the Sixers last night. I watched a little bit of AEW. Remember, we were supposed to record. Full disclosure, we're now recording Thursday. We were supposed to record last night, and it kind of backed up to not happening. So then I ended up watching the Sixers game.
By the time we were about to record, Forbidden Door wasn't even announced, and that was kind of the crux of our episode.
Yeah, we would have. I think it would have been. We would have been sitting here because I think it happened about 8:45, and we were gonna record at 8:30. So we would have been sitting here a little bit, but I've done it before. But also the problem is I work overnight, and I don't watch the Sixers live most of the time. That was the first Sixers playoff game that I watched more than a couple minutes of live. Was last night.
I know people like that, man. I know people. I know my cousin Rafi, man. He would go out. A huge wrestling fan. Got me into wrestling. Shout out to you, man. But yeah, he loves live music. He would go out to like a concert, and it's like music, football, sports in general. It's like football, professional wrestling, and rest of sports. And so, like, he's a Cowboys fan for a dumbass reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know how. You lived here your whole life. You were born here your whole life. Why?
I unfortunately,
I'll never fucking get it.
I do.
I don't like the fucking upper management staff of the Eagles either. What the fuck? I still like the team.
I unfortunately do get it. It's not a good enough excuse, but I get it.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, the Eagles, and I'm going to get completely off topic here just because you said that. When we were growing up, the Eagles, if they didn't sell out a home game, it would be blacked out locally. It's not anything we deal with now as adults because Lori basically buys out the tickets if they don't sell out. But back then, they wouldn't show it locally. So Dallas was always a national game. So if you were going to watch football, there was no ticket like there is now. Unfortunately, Coyle, who we both know, he was a big Cowboys fan growing up because in his house they weren't huge into football, and when he wanted to watch football, the Cowboys were on. Yeah, so he was a big Cowboys fan. So I get it because they kind of grew up on it. That's it's still disgusting because we hate the Cowboys. Hey, be a little bit older like the Niners when the Niners were good. That's fine. They're not in our division.
Nick from Manchester, Cowboys fan.
That's
my boss is a Giants fan.
It's still gross.
Worse. That's worse. Giants fan because you suck and
is he at least from Jersey or New York?
No, it's like he's like bumblefuck all the way up, like literally the cusp, like the edge of the line of like Pennsylvania.
And that's another thing too. His local games
cut off, and it was just up there.
But that's what I remember being. I want to say the one time I was in DC, but it was like a certain part of DC where they got Ravens games, not Redskins.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's another thing we don't think about as being from Philly. We get the Eagles. It's the local. You don't think of like. Mm-hmm.
It's easier now too, by the way. Like with NFL.
Yeah, now you can
like everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, you can live in another state and still catch all the games, and it not just football, everything. Yeah.
It's a different time. Yeah. But yeah, he had a thing, man. He would go back. He would record with with DVR that when Comcast first released that. He would DVR whatever it may be. So like if it was the Cowboys were playing, it was Monday Night Football. Let's say it was the Monday after WrestleMania. Okay, he's gonna dedicate his time to watching Raw, and he's gonna record the Cowboys game. And usually he takes like the 2 days off after WrestleMania, which is smart. As an adult now, I do that. I should have done it this year. I didn't. But yeah, he would take like 2 days off, so he would just have a couple drinks. Then like after we're all watch the Cowboys game. That happened to be the case. Or if there was a concert, he would go to a concert and dedicate his free time to that because that's his love. Come home and then watch like the Sixers playoff game. Or the Flyers hockey game, like whatever. That's what he would do, and then hey, fast forward through stuff, and that's it makes sense. But no one bats an eye when it's sports, when it's regular
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah.
The replay plays at 1:00 in the fucking morning. If you happen to be awake, yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
You know, like it's hard to catch the shit live.
But that's it. You know how many times I've heard somebody say like, they'll be like, yeah, did you watch all the Sixers game? That there's 82 games, like, and that's the same thing. It's like wrestling is every week, two nights a week. You know, it's if you want to watch YouTube and all that stuff.
That, like 2.0 is, you know, for a new audience, not for us. It's like, one less night of wrestling. Oh, thank God.
I mean, I've fully given up on WWE. I had not watched Raw or SmackDown. I probably watched the Black and Gold NXT. It was probably the last live, and I wouldn't even want to say live replay that I've watched of WWE.
I watch Cody on Raw, but I don't know when that segment's airing. So it's like, all right, I have a DVR. I'll fast forward. Watch that segment, uncut. All right, cool. I'm done. That's enough. Yeah. Like, I watched my favorite people. Big E comes back. Watching Big E.
I watched Cody, the Miz, and then I also watched the Kevin Owens. Oh no, not even the match. The segment.
Oh, the segment. Yeah.
I didn't even watch the match, and then I watched.
They're friends, so they work well together.
The Kevin Owens, Chad Gable, Ezekiel segment. Because I heard that was funny, and it was. But yeah, so we got far down the rabbit hole here. Let's actually focus on the pay-per-view itself, because it is so intriguing. So you go through the article, and then we'll kind of throw stuff out there, what we want to see, what we think we might see out of the show.
Yeah, so this is from SI.com, Sports Illustrated's website. This is Justin Barrasso. I hope I did not butcher your name. If you happen to listen to us, if you do, man, tell Sports Illustrated, like, get the shit out there. Come on, man. We only got so many subscribers. Fuck. Tony Khan announced that tonight's Dynamite AEW, New Japan, AEW and New Japan will hold their first joint pay-per-view, which we mentioned, Forbidden Door on June 26th in the United Center. It would have been, this is a quote from TK, it would have been unfathomable to collaborate on a pay-per-view when AEW first started, of course. But as a lot has changed since then in the world of wrestling, said Khan. I believe we've earned their trust. We started working closely together last year. They've moved. The more we've collaborated, the better the relationship has become, and the more trust we've built. It's culminating in a huge event on the pay-per-view that's with the stars of AEW and the stars of New Japan Pro Wrestling colliding at Forbidden Door. New Japan has, and I'm cherry picking like stuff. Right. The whole article, we will put it on the description so you can read it. It's a decent article. New Japan has held a working relationship previously with promotions in the United States. Most recently with Ring of Honor, it co-produced G1 Supercard at Madison Square Garden in 2019, which ended with Okada winning the IWGP Heavyweight title in dramatic fashion on American soil. It's also possible that there are matches featuring only AEW talent. AEW has an outstanding women's division, but New Japan does not employ female wrestlers. Its parent company, Bushi Road, who owns Stardom, which is New Japan's sister promotion, does. So there's a possibility of having maybe Stardom. That could be like the kickoff show.
Right.
Is that a slap in the face? Yes. But it's New Japan doesn't run the way AEW or WWE, where there is a dedicated division for women. That's not to say that I don't know their reasoning behind it. It is old school, but Stardom is a huge promotion within Japan, and they are basically under the same parent company. Stardom had some matches, I believe, recently at Wrestle Kingdom. I think the last two Wrestle Kingdoms, they've had some matches sprinkled out. Mm-hmm. But us as American fans, I think we're predisposed to having those matches be on the card. And we fought so hard, men and women, to get that on the card. I hope they would get at least one or two matches of Stardom and like versus AEW wrestlers, maybe like Britt versus like whoever's over at Stardom. Is Kari Sane over there?
I think so. I think so. I know she's in, but that's what I'm envisioning is some type of 8-woman tag, or a battle royal with some of the wrestlers from over there, and then what I would assume is possibly you end up getting maybe Peraza wrestling or something like that, like somebody I know against an AEW.
ROH?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you get an ROH AEW kind of women's match to kind of throw. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, you know what? That's easy to say as well. Stardom could have no bearing on the night, and then AEW could be like, no, like listen, we need to have a women's match, and it needs to be on the main card.
Yeah,
like not the kickoff.
Like I highly doubt they're gonna wait till June 26th, but that would be a time to unify with Deanna and Mercedes. For the ROH, but that's 2 months from now. I don't know that they're gonna wait that long, but maybe they do.
Well, you also think about one of the biggest, not hurdles. I mean, they have a good relationship. They just happen not to be working together at this moment. And I think that's going to stop in just a moment. It's Impact, right?
Yeah.
Like, Impact has to have some kind of bearing because Peraza is a contracted Impact star with a belt that now is owned technically by Tony Khan.
And
then Jay White's working with Impact, who's also reformed. The Good Brothers are now in the Bullet Club. Like, there's a lot there. Like, Impact's going to have some kind of bearing in that. I mean, obviously, working relationship. Like, they already have a good relationship.
And they already kind of, but I mean, if you believe what Tony Khan says, they already have had conversations about Deanna. It was just because that night they also had their own pay-per-view.
That's right, yes.
Because that night was chock full of all types of events.
That weekend was jam-packed with amazing matches and a lot of great wrestling outside of WWE, and then a good WrestleMania surprise, a decent WrestleMania. But yeah, I don't know about that. Hopefully we get some stuff like that. I love how this... Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I know we're talking about the women's before we kind of get into the men's. Like you said, I would like... I keep wanting to call her Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane, Sheeta would be fun to watch. But I'm selfishly wanting to see Britt Baker, Deanna Purrazzo, because they teased at that when Purrazzo was the Impact champion and Baker was the AEW champion. They were teasing a champion versus champion angle where like they won the Impact Women's Tag. There was like rumors of like them going and win the Impact Women's Tag, and it kind of coming to a head eventually. I guess WWE style, which we're waiting for Riddle and Orton to happen. The whole like, oh no, they're nice, and then eventually one of them turns. So
for clarification, Kairi Sane is back in. She goes by Kairi. And she is back in Stardom. She does have an injury. Currently, she has a ruptured eardrum. I don't know what the time frame for that, but that would be really cool. Yeah. In my brain, in my Galaxy like booking brain, you get Kairi Sane versus Purrazzo versus Britt Baker, or Mercedes Martinez, whoever's the ROH champion. And I know Kairi's not the Stardom champion. I mean, they have their own champion, but that'd be cool. Some kind of representative.
That's what when it comes to the show, and I'll kind of transition because New Japan does not have a huge representation or really any. Honestly, if Bea Priestley, Priestley, she was, I know, there with
she was their Stardom champion,
but she was also showing up, I think, in New Japan, right? Like not wrestling, but she was showing up in New Japan.
She was with the United Kingdom, when Ospreay started that.
But now she's in WWE. She's in WWE, so but I was like, that could have been interesting because she was an AEW original. So having that kind of crossover would have been cool. But they're limited.
Have a working relationship with Stardom anyway, so that makes sense.
They're limited. I would say. I see, and I don't know. Did they use any Stardom wrestlers when they were doing the? Was that Eliminator tournament that they did, where there was the world on one side and it was the U.S. on the other.
Some of those matches were contested under Stardom.
And see, and
could be wrong because someone could fact check.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know for sure, but I would assume some of it either were women who have some connection to Stardom or whatever. So you might get some of them back, and that's where I said you almost get like a 10 women tag, where you have 5 of them and 5 of the AEW women.
And I know. For better or worse, I think optically, I mean, if the match is better or worse, I think optically for American fans that match might need to be on the main card.
Yeah,
because now it's. I wouldn't want it. I don't want a bad match, obviously, but I think as American fans, we're predisposed to see that, and we want that. Like, I want women's wrestling on the main card as well. We're not in a time frame where we were like 30 years ago, and even then, most of those women in that time learned how to wrestle, and they're amazing. And we talk so highly of Trish Stratus and Lita and all these other people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So I guess we can kick into, I mean, what kind of matches we're gonna see, right? Because like even SI ends right here, like we could see like Danielson versus Kota Ibushi.
I really quick before we get into dream matches and stuff like that, I had one question for you, and this is something that's been going in my head. Do we get champion against champion, or do they try to save their champions by not having them go against each other and having one of them lose? Like, what do you prefer, I guess? Because I've gone back and forth in my head. Like, it's hard to show your champion lose, but it's interesting to have the champion against champion.
Part of me wants champion versus champion. But I'm okay with something I saw online and it got stuck in my brain, which was it was in the kind of funny Wolfpack wrestling group. I think I said that right. And it was someone saying when the announcement came up, one of the matches they would like to see is Jay White versus Adam Page. And I was like, wow, you know what? That'd be great. Like 2 young lions come up in the ROH and like independent and then, New Japan scene, both former Bullet Club. Both people like that no one thought would be in a, now Jay White's multiple world champion, never open champion, all this leader of the Bullet Club. Never thought you would see him in this position.
Right.
I would like to see that. That's one of those matches I would like to see. And whether I would like to see him as champion still. I mean, obviously next week I think we're going to see where his championship route is taking now that it's likely to be him and CM Punk.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you want to rush that match real quick and give it to us on Wednesday, we won't complain.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I'll lose my voice again. I would gladly lose my voice again. Yeah, I want to bring up. We can keep talking. I'm just going to look over here. I want to bring up that post because I thought there were some other matches I was like, ooh, that's actually decent.
I mean, I'm going to start with the biggie in my mind, not Big E, but the biggie, Okada, because I feel like for fans that maybe have not seen New Japan that are AEW fans,
I'm so excited for you guys to witness Okada.
Yeah, his because he wrestled at All In, right? But I don't think he wrestled at All In 2.
He didn't wrestle at All Out.
The second one. He didn't wrestle at All Out, because they still had some guys that were not AEW roster guys, but it was more mixed on the first one, right? The All In.
All In, yeah. Okada wrestled in All In.
Yeah. So there's so much out there for him. There's people bringing up the tweets of when Punk offered Okada out. So there's that. There is potentially returning Kenny Omega and getting to see that, where some people might see that for the first time.
Go.
So that is sitting out there. You just said Danielson and Ibushi. You got Danielson. You have there's plenty. I mean, you could get an Adam Cole match. I'm trying to think down the card. I think, again, I talked about the champions. I would prefer it not to be champion versus champion, purely because I expect the champions to win their matches. And as much as I want to be like unknown, I have a hard time watching a champion versus champion match because I'm like, is this going to end in a DQ or a time limit draw?
I'm down, and I don't know how this may be controversial, but I'm down with none of the belts being on the line. Just
yeah, but not on the line. But I still have
happens to win the world title, it's Kenta. I don't want people to be like, why is Kenta going after AEW title? Like, no, it doesn't matter. I want Kenta versus CM Punk. Go to sleep versus go to sleep.
I still have a hard time just seeing the champion lose in general.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like you said, when the belt's on the line, you know they're definitely not losing. But yeah, you know what? That didn't even cross my mind. We should be getting Kenta and Punk.
Yeah, right. Here, this is a good one. Someone pointed out. This is like their dream card, right? Cole versus Taiyusa Naito. That'd be good. Naito and Cole. FTR versus God. That'd be really good. Tana Hoshi versus Sting.
Oh, shit.
Goosebumps, dude. Because honestly, I told you the one WWE match I've ever wanted, if they actually worked that deal out with New Japan, was Tanahashi versus Cena. Because I wanted those two, like the ace versus the ace. I'm getting goosebumps still, man. Can you think about Tanahashi was in Impact, right? When Sting was there? I don't think they ever crossed paths.
I don't know. But like, Tanahashi versus Sting, that sounds crazy. Jay White versus Hangman, this is where I got that. Takahashi versus Darby Allin. CM Punk versus Kenta. And Danielson versus either Zack Sabre Jr. or Okada. Okay.
I like that. And then someone said Joe versus Jeff Cobb. It's a good one. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm picturing Ospreay.
So someone says Serena D versus anyone from Stardom. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. That's a match I would want to see. Ricky Starks versus Takahashi.
See,
that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. See, now the one big thing that comes with New Japan. For those people who don't really watch New Japan, is they fit in all their roster into their main shows, and they do this by a lot of 3-on-3 tags, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. You're going to get a lot of that, and that's going to be a lot of these matchups we want to see are going to be coming in the form of that. I would love to see, selfishly, a four corners, or even a triple threat. You get God against Young Bucks against Good Brothers or something like that, where you kind of get like the Bullet Club, just all
Bullet Club,
yeah, and they all just because God's not members of it anymore either.
No, they got kicked out. Yeah.
So you have that kind of storyline built around it, or even like I'm going to assume you would probably get Young Bucks against God. That would probably be.
That's the storyline that's been forever. Like they've been teasing that motherfucker forever.
Super selfishly, I would love to see Red Dragon against FTR against Young Bucks against God and put them all in there together. That's just selfishly. That has like
that's Dave Meltzer just jizzing stars everywhere.
Or like I could see like FTR teaming with God to go against Young Bucks and Red Dragon to kind of be, And
even then, I'm not upset. Like, I know that people will be like, I want you two to fight. Like, well, maybe we'll get there. This is literally the beginning of something.
Yeah, like
this may be the only time. This may be more times.
Right.
We don't know what this is going to be like, but this is whatever we get. We should be really appreciative.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what. Like I don't know New Japan, and that's one of the biggest things. Everybody's in a faction in some way in New Japan.
Which is cool. I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. But
for some reason,
my favorite tag team when I was watching New Japan a little bit more, and that was purely during the Omega Okada. I'm not going to act like I used to actually watch it regularly, but when I actually paid attention to it. I loved Evil and Sonata, which I'm pretty sure they're not even in the same faction anymore. I think the last time I checked.
Evil's in Bullet Club.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Evil went to Bullet Club. But I love them too as a tag team. Again, selfishly, I'd love to see them wrestle as a tag team because I think Sonata. I mean, they're both good.
Sonata's great.
I did not know how good Sonata was. I used to love Evil's look because I've always been like this. I think I told you this before. Scott Norton was like one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. Like I just like
Scott Norton can pop up on Forbidden Door. His Bullet Club for life.
But like he Evil
just showed up at Windy City. You never know.
Evil's like built like he's not quite built like Jeff Cobb, but a little bit. Like he's a little bit less. And I just love watching him. But then
he's similar to Scott Norton, though. Yeah.
I think when we did our G1 a couple years ago on Apron Work, when we did like our guessing game where you predicted it and stuff, I watched a couple Sonata singles matches and I was like, oh wow, he's really good, like really really good, like should have a nice singles run. Good. So as much as I liked Evil, so it's just funny because now didn't Evil, I think Evil's won it. Yeah, he's the never openweight champion. So it's just funny because I was like, Sonata should go in a singles run, and now Evil is the one with the championship.
That's true. I'm looking at their. That's true. We're thinking specifically Japanese too. Like any of the American, strong can go in there. And it's funny. You did mention that like a lot of them are AEW already. A lot of them already. I'm looking at the roster, like the actual like roster for it, and it's like, okay, yeah, that dude's in AEW, yeah, that dude's in AEW, that dude's in GCW, that dude's in AEW, that dude's in Impact. Jonah, there we go. There's one. Jonah does stuff for New Japan. Jonah versus Cobb versus Keith Lee. Big meaty man bumping meat. Give it to me. No, this is I
mean, you got Tom Lawler. They'll probably find a way.
That. And you know who just left WWE? One of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Oh,
Kushida.
Yeah.
Kushida versus Kyle O'Reilly for like the 80th time. I'll take it every goddamn time. They're the best together. The best.
Yeah, I see. This is the problem. I don't know the stables anymore. The factions, whatever you want to call them, groups. I just don't know them anymore. So I'm like, I don't know. But they said you're almost definitely going to get 5-on-5s. If you had to choose, and now I'm going to assume that this is going to be WrestleMania length. This is going to be.
This shit needs to be 6 hours.
I was gonna say this is going to be 1 hour pre-show.
I'm taking off that Monday.
5 hours. I mean, I would personally. I say this every time, and I'll say this again. I personally would love to go. If anybody out there wants to just buy tickets and send them to us.
Japan, we have a really popular. Don't look at the numbers. We have a really popular podcast. Some would say the best wrestling podcast in Philadelphia. Media credentials don't cost you a thing.
Hey,
a flight don't cost you a thing.
Our numbers don't. Our numbers don't mean shit. I've done research and listened to others, and we're awesome.
Get us 3 tickets. I'm looking at you, Mary Rivera. I'll hook you up. You're in Chicago.
But if you had to go, and again, it's gonna be a long show. If you had to pick 4 matches. And I'm talking men specific. We kind of ran through. Women's is harder because we don't know what's going to be involved there.
What's going to be there?
If you had to pick 4, and I'm going to say, not multi-man tag. Like a tag team's okay, but not multi-man tag because those are just going to be squeezed in there. We're talking about Danielson. We're probably going to get whatchamacallit, the Blackpool. They'll probably end up being a team as long as they're still around. They'll probably add another member. You probably get 4-on-4 in some way. I mean, you got the Dark Order.
I feel like this is literally what Danielson's been waiting for his whole career now. He's gonna get a one-on-one. I mean, that could be Moxley and Yuta versus people, but I'm talking.
Well, I don't know.
Not even.
See, but that's the problem. That's the problem when you think there's too many matches in my mind. I don't see 10 singles matches happening because that's longer than what we're talking about. So if you had to pick 4, and I'll just go singles. Screw the tag team. We're not talking about tag teams. 4 singles matches that you would want to see on this.
selfishly, I know they're hurt. I don't know what their level of hurt is, and if they've been lying. I want Ibushi versus Omega again. They work so well together. I would love to see that match one more time. I want to run that back. I selfishly want O'Reilly and Kushida because I think that is the best way to showcase a junior heavyweight division of New Japan. He, in my mind, the best junior heavyweight to come out of New Japan. And I'm even talking, that's even with, Finn Balor and everything who have been there. Like, I truly believe Kushida is the best. I'm trying not to look at this list right here that I have on my right because it's a really good list. But I will steal one. I want Tana Hoshi versus Punk.
Okay.
Because Punk is the closest thing to a John Cena that we'll get. Like, he's the guy. He's that guy.
Right.
Punk is that guy in WWE. Cena had respect for him, and I feel like that translates well to like the closest thing we can get to like a Cena versus Tanahashi, which is fine.
Right.
It's so funny because I'm not mentioning Adam Page. I want him to wrestle. If I want dream, like I want him to wrestle that match. But I don't know if I want Page versus Okada,
Right.
I would like both world champions to go against each other with no belt on the line, just bragging rights. Like a Survivor Series, right?
Right.
Treating this like a Survivor Series. I do, and I think, you know what? I'll say it because I think that would be the final, like, mark that, with this opportunity, that'd be the final mark that Page needs to finally be considered a top guy ever, right? And you gotta think Kenny vouches for him, the Bucks vouch for him, Cody vouched for him. Everyone vouched for Page to be in the role that he's in now. He's, in my mind, excelling. He's doing very well as world champion. I think he's having a really good run, a really dominant run, which is really good. He needs that. And he could take the L on this one. That's fine because I don't want any belt on the line. But I think as a tested metal, old school Japanese wrestling style, I do want it. Adam Page versus Okada.
Okay. So there's your four.
Yeah.
As you were doing that, I'm sure my mechanical keyboard probably came across on that fucking microphone while I was typing.
I didn't hear shit, so that's perfect. I don't know how it goes episode wise, but I didn't hear shit.
Yeah. So
the roster's so big.
I know.
Hear, like, it's so hard.
I was just typing, like, while you were saying yours, I was writing down your answers and stuff, but like I also was trying to think of mine just to kind of have it. And I automatically went to 5 guys from New Japan that I want to see in matches. So I was like, all right, I got to take off 1 because I'm the one that limited us to 4. So Ospreay is the one that actually got cut off as far as the 5 that I really want to see in a match. Because I'm not 100% sure who I want to see him against. And I think that's where the thing, like, my mind's going like Jungle Boy or something like that. I think would be really interesting. Because then you can have Ospreay win, but show off Jungle Boy and what I mean. I feel like his match.
Christ, Zack Sabre is the holder of the cup, the New Japan. Like,
yeah, but like when I
to these people, it's just like we finally have. It's like I have too many toys to play. I feel like Connor, like on Christmas morning, like I have too many toys to play with. I don't know what to play with first.
I don't have Tanahashi. I don't have Naito. I don't have any of those guys on my list.
Yeah.
My number 1 is the one that we've been waiting for forever, and that is Kenta Punk. I feel like that needs to happen.
I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, I feel like Kenta Punk needs to happen. Yeah. We've been waiting for it. I feel like with this whole Forbidden Door, we've been waiting for Kenta to just randomly show up. Because I think he showed up at Impact, right? But he never actually showed up.
No, he showed up in Dynamite. Remember, he took out Moxley.
Okay. Oh, yeah. That's right. To promote their match. Because didn't they? Because he defended it against somebody else, right? At the time,
Yuji
it was
Nagata.
Yeah. So that
I don't know how I remember that. Damn.
I don't remember his name. You just said it, and I still am like, huh? But so we have Kenta Punk. I liked your actual idea of Jay White, Adam Page.
That's a good one.
Because I feel like I love Jay White, and I feel like that puts
So good.
that Page can win that match, and it puts Page over, and it's him against the old Bullet Club and Elite. It has that storyline still built into it, where Jay White is kind of the unsung leader right now, and it kind of still.
I would hate to be in the writers' room. I just even thought of that.
But
holy shit, you have the possibility of working with 3 different companies. You're like, fuck. All right, what are you guys doing over here? Shit. All right, God, can we get like a Kevin Feige for like the wrestling cinematic universe?
So then
shit, the Hardy Boys, Mike.
Nah.
They're at AEW.
Eh?
God damn it!
But that they'll probably be in one of those 4 to 5 to 6-on-6 matches. I'm sure they'll be, and there's so many weird combinations you can have. The Young Bucks and the Hardys on a team together against a foursome from there. There's so many combinations. The next 2 months is going to be crazy. Honestly, we're probably going to start getting some foreshadowing even as early. Well, I know Friday. I know Friday, yeah. But like and Jared will probably kill me for not even mentioning Ishii, because Jared loves Ishii, but he's not on my list either of top 4. But Wednesday, I'm excited to see what happens Wednesday, because I could see build up starting now. We're only. It's funny to say it's 2 months, really, but we're only 2 months away. It's literally 8 shows. 16, but 8 Dynamites away. And I don't know when their next pay-per-view is, but this probably comes before it. So, because it's quarterly, right? And the one just
I'll look up at AEW.
So, the next one is Bushi Danielson. I just feel like that has, you put Danielson against most of those guys. It's hard for me to like get fully into it, but just them two. I feel like if I want to match 2 guys up, watching Danielson and Ibushi just beat the ever-living shit out of each other, and they're both solid guys. Like, they're both built. I mean, Ibushi's built like a fucking god, but
I mean, the 205 tournament, the cruiserweight tournament was going on. Danielson was commentating how much he wanted to wrestle Ibushi then. No. And he couldn't wrestle. Oh my god!
That match has barn burner match of the night written all over it. And then selfishly, we probably won't get it, but selfishly, I would love to see for the 5th time Omega against Okada to main event it. I just would love, because I feel like for those of you who have not seen it, for AEW fans who have not seen it,
you need it.
Not only that, but you could get WrestleMania length video package out of that to just show the whole and the build of that. And I don't know if Omega is even going to be ready in 2 months. But
so here's the interesting thing: a month before, a little less than a month before Forbidden Door is Double or Nothing, May 29th.
Okay, so you will probably get some program start then. I could see a run-in or something happening.
That night could be crazy. Yeah, that night could be like Okada just. Oh my
God, I think you're going. I think you're probably going to get the start of a lot of the main programs happening that night.
Teases from Wednesday on.
Yeah,
Double or Nothing, and then full like thunder, like lightning and thunder cracking down.
I think if AEW does the right thing, and I think they are by putting Ishii there, you're going to see a lot of I hate to say it this way, but like guys that people don't know about. And I'm going to include a guy like Tana Hoshi in that, where he's very, very good. He's awesome. But does the common U.S. wrestling fan know Tana Hoshi? I think you got Kenta, who's in WWE. Jay White, I feel like, kind of, stands on his own.
Yeah.
Ibushi, Okada, they stand out. Tanahashi, you almost have to watch him wrestle. You know, like you have to watch him, and then you kind of understand. It's kind of the same way with Naito. You have to watch him wrestle.
They have to do a really good thing with these video packages. They have to go above and beyond with introducing. They have to basically treat the audience like they're stupid, and that's people are going to complain about that, and that's only for, as I mentioned at the top of the show, the Rebecca Valentines, the people who are just getting into wrestling because AEW is the alternative and it's been fun to watch, but they have no knowledge base of the fact that like Okada and Omega have a history,
right?
That Ishii is this badass,
and they have not done a good job of it with like Suzuki. Suzuki's shown up constantly on AEW programming, and I don't feel like they've done enough to
that's a fair criticism.
And normal because Suzuki and again, what you say was the guy's name. I apologize for those New Japan fans. No knock on him, but he's not like the face of New Japan or anything right now, So you kind of can glance him over, and not to say Suzuki is the face, but he is what he is in New Japan. And
he's God.
And you watch what the matches he put on, and you're like, oh, okay, this is how he wrestles, and that's great. But I felt like they didn't do a good enough job really letting us know how brutal he is until you've seen it in the ring.
Yeah, I think his match with Danielson did a better job, but like his initial, when he went against Moxley, he just randomly showed up and stuff. That was cool for us hardcore fans, but like that was not properly portrayed, and that's been an issue. That's been a big issue with AEW.
I think there's a happy.
When Blade showed up, they did not present them correctly.
There is a happy medium, I think, without going overboard, with also explaining a little bit. I mean, even me as I know who he is. I'm like, all right, hype him up a little bit. Explain who he is a little bit. We can't just have Excalibur mentioning random facts while he's walking down to the ring for his match. Like you need to. And we talked about this with what's his name, Satnam Singh, right?
Satnam Singh, yeah.
Where he debuted, and Tony Khan already admitted that he was wrong for going the route of having the lights out.
Listen. TK does listen with that stuff, so I'm hoping.
My thing was, and I think I said this to you. I believe I said it to somebody, that I felt like had they just went ahead and showed him out in the crowd, and like, oh yeah, he's training, you know what I mean? He's been training with us. He's former, and they talked about him throughout the night, and you just see this tall motherfucker sitting out ringside, like for the whole night, and just kept showing him like he's some celebrity, like, oh yeah, he used to play in the NBA, and he's been training, and he's here for the show, and he's getting a front row view, and then when all that shit happens, you don't turn the light out. You just have this motherfucker step over the fucking thing, and you're like, "Oh shit, what's he coming over for?" And then he does it.
To stop him,
yeah. And then he comes over, and then he does it, and you're like, "Oh wow!" Like, but then you're like, "I know who he is." They just explained to me that he's been training, that he's an ex-basketball player, that he's.
I gotta admit, WWE does that better.
Yeah. They do.
WWE does that better.
They do.
To a certain degree. It is frustrating when they treat us like idiots.
Yeah,
the whole Braun Breaker thing is very frustrating until recently now that they're acknowledging that Rick is fucking dad.
Right.
And Scott is his goddamn uncle. Like,
see, what WWE would do is they would show you video packages of Satnam Singh for the next 6 weeks before he showed up that night. He'd show up that night. It would happen in the first segment, and then you'd see replays of it 20 times the rest of the night.
Look at Gable Stevenson. They've been showing him off,
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, for better or worse, his personal life. I mean, I don't know why WWE just continues to hire people that just love raping people. Austin Theory and whatever. But, they do a good job of showing you, like, hey, this guy is a national champion. Like, he's on the Raw brand. He's still training to be a professional wrestler. It's like, the motherfucker had a WrestleMania moment before he even had a fucking match. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's already, like, they keep showing him. the biggest thing I can think of, and not even, I guess that would be a thing too, right? Jericho and the Radicals.
Yeah.
When they both appeared, the Radicals specifically, because I think that's what queued up in my mind when you mentioned something, saying like sitting on ringside. If that were the case, I remember tuning in that Raw, and then I'm like, is that fucking Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn, and Chris Benoit? What the fuck? Didn't Chris Benoit just win the world title last night? I heard that because I don't watch WCW. I heard he won the world heavyweight title last night. Right? Am I wrong? And then no, this motherfucker's just in WWE,
and that's what
freaking out.
See, and like, I don't feel like it needs to be done all the time. I think nowadays, because of the internet and stuff, like, you even notice NXT kind of did it with the Undisputed Era. They did not foreshadow a lot of that. I think earlier in that night, if I remember correctly, O'Reilly wrestled, and then Bobby Fish comes out and helps him. And they make mention of they were teammates, you know, and they might even mention Ring of Honor, you know what I mean, like quickly. But they're saying like, oh yeah, they're
champions all over,
all
over the world.
Yeah, oh my God, it's Bobby Fish. They've been champions yet and stuff like that. And then,
debut.
Oh no, that's right.
Right.
I think that happens on like NXT or something like that. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Because I was gonna say I thought Cole comes out, but no. Then later in the night,
Dragon had a match at that takeover.
Was it Red Dragon or was it just O'Reilly? Because I remember Bobby.
Both of them, and I think they won
and
their tag team match.
And maybe this happened on the NXT episode
where
one of them debuted, Fish or O'Reilly, I think, and then the other one comes out. So yeah, you're probably right. I think it was a tag team match, or they might not have been in a tag team match. They might have come out and they attacked two tag teams. That's what happened.
That's what it was.
I don't know if one of them had already wrestled, so it wasn't surprising that one was there, but the two of them showed up. It was their tag team champion match, whoever was involved in it. They came out and attacked. They attacked everybody. And then, then Adam Cole comes out. And, well, actually, I think O'Reilly and Fish come out, I think, first and attack McIntyre. And then I think they might even have done the lights out and then Adam Cole's in the ring or whatever. But they didn't, there was not weeks of build-up of them coming. Even at that time, I didn't fully, like, I've watched them wrestle in ROH, but I don't fully know them. But when I see them, I was like, oh, I know who they are. Let me Google. You know, right now it's too easy to do that. But a guy like Satnam Singh, it's like a Gable Steveson. You don't really know who he is. I don't have. You didn't need to explain to me who AJ Styles was.
No.
You kind of need to explain to me who Gable Steveson is. I don't know who the fuck he is. I don't watch amateur wrestling in my spare time. I don't know who he is. So it's,
if you're a wrestling fan, you knew who those four people were at ringside when they debuted, but
it's a fine line.
How familiar are you with Eddie, right? How familiar are you with Dean Malenko?
But if that happened today, you don't need to explain it because the internet is so prominent in everything that it's so easy to just go on YouTube right now. You see every wrestling match they've ever had. You understand it. So that's why I said there's a fine line. Suzuki is not Okada. If Okada showed up, you're finding everything out. I mean, legit, they've fucking talked about Okada. And I know it's Jericho Omega is actually the match that Tony Khan talks about. But what led to that? Omega became huge because of his fucking matches with Okada. Okada is a huge branch of what became AEW. So he's a huge part of that. So if Okada shows up to challenge Moxley, it's very easy to find out who he is. Suzuki, it's not as easy, and that's where it's a fine line. Danhausen, a lot of people don't like the fact that they did not do. I don't think you need to. He's all over the fucking internet. You type his name in, you see his blog, you see everything.
Honestly, he might be the most famous non-WWE wrestler, non-AEW or WWE wrestler before he got signed. Like
he
he's the biggest name in ROH's roster.
He needs no introduction. No, because once you Google him, you see his whole history. It is so easy to find him.
I'm talking to John Cena. It's him on Conan O'Brien. It's him interacting with The Rock.
Twitter and YouTube, You use them, you never have to fucking see him on Dynamite.
No.
Why waste your time giving a breakdown of who Danhausen is? There's no need to.
This is what I would do in this case, because they've gotten, I would say they've gotten better other than Stop and Sing. They definitely dropped the ball. That was like old AEW. They've been getting a little better. They need to do something where they, pay-per-view, right? Didn't know AFI was Punk's theme song. Excalibur did a good job of conveying that to me. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't know that. Like, I'll look this up later. They do some good stuff. There's more bad than good when they do introductions, which is frustrating. But what if they did like a video package the next day on YouTube, right? And Twitter and Facebook and whatever, right? So you go, oh my God, Kazuchika Okada just showed up. Oh my God, the current New Japan World Heavyweight Champion, like his rival is Kenny Omega. And it's like, oh my God, he's here. And then just do that blurb, and then either you have, how when they build up matches, they have the control center every week on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Do that almost, but like on Thursday, and be like, you have JR, we're like, oh my God, Okada's in, AEW, the whole landscape's gonna change, and then do a brief history, have some photos of like Pro Wrestling Illustrated, or maybe you have access to the New Japan footage, I'm assuming, because they kind of have a working relationship.
Yeah.
Have some footage ready, just have a video package and like an interview thing ready, whereas Excalibur, Taz, JR and Tony Schiavone talking about the impact that Okada's had in this business. And if you're an AEW fan and you follow them on social, you'll see it on Twitter. You'll see it on Facebook. You'll see it on their YouTube page. Then that video package is what will play on Dynamite or Rampage, as a segment. Like, that's the thing you can do to kind of convey a better understanding for casual fans.
And that's what I said. Like you said, all that stuff with Okada, I think it's easier to do those things. And I can only compare it to Suzuki purely because he's just
the ball with him. But he's such a big wrestler.
He's also wrestled there like 5-6 times now.
Yeah. At this point, it's fine.
That's the other thing too, that he's been there enough now that, like, no knock on him, but Rocky Romero, right, has wrestled there a bunch of times too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He doesn't really need much of an introduction. No knock on him, but he's not even Suzuki. His connection to the best friends and to Trent is enough. I felt like they explained their tag team history enough for me, because I didn't know their tag team history. I felt like he explained it enough for me to be like, oh, okay, didn't know that. They're multi-time champions. That's awesome. Great. I felt like we didn't even get that much explanation with Suzuki, and that's where it's rough, because the casual fan is not on Twitter, is not watching YouTube. The casual fan is not. They're purely watching Dynamite and Rampage. So if they're purely watching them too,
somebody's brain, like,
I feel like you can do without a backstage segment one week furthering the JAS and Kingston and Proud Powerful to just show me a little history of Suzuki. Just a couple minute clip of just what he's done in New Japan, just to give me that effect. Not everything needs to be a surprise. I don't need to be surprised how hard hitting he is in the ring, because guess what? I seen him come out. I don't know who the fuck he is. I'm not going to make sure I tune in next week to go see him because I don't know who he is. I need to at least see some highlights of his matches and be like, oh shit, this guy is going to be wrestling Moxley next week? Ooh, I got to watch this. But now you're like, who is he? And if you're not going full in depth, you're like, I don't give a fuck about this main event. I never heard of this guy.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that falls on Excalibur. So like a lot of the brunt of that always falls on Excalibur. But he's the most knowledgeable.
He does a hell of a job. He does a hell of a job for the limited time and resources he seems to have when he's doing it.
It feels like it feels like a long time, but he's breaking down a wrestler in about 20 seconds.
And sometimes he's got 3 other announcers sitting there with him, talking over him about stuff. It's impressive. It's why I drafted him to my team, which that will be coming soon enough. I have not put it out there yet, but we will be voting on it. Don't you worry. I plan on winning, and I want people to vote. So we'll get something out soon. But yeah, this kind of went. Well, this is what happens when we talk about random shit for the first 20 minutes. It's been 2 weeks, but we're starting to, let's wind this down here. But awesome news, absolutely major news. I know it's been rumored for a little bit of time. I don't care what anybody thinks. This is way more major than ROH.
It is. If you think it's not,
New Japan's thing.
Yeah, you got to think about this. This truly is like a game changer thing. It's not John Cena showing up on AEW. It's not anything like that. But this is the possibility of a long-term shift.
I mean, I could imagine them having 2 major shows like this each year.
I'm totally down. I am totally down.
And all this does for me, and I seen, I think before this got announced, Tony Khan talked about the potential of having a big ROH and AEW show, like a super show between them. And all I'm imagining is All In 2. Because now they have the name, you have it All In 2, it becomes an ROH AEW show. They have a somewhat working relationship with Impact, with New Japan. You can legit do the same fucking thing you did for All In. Now that you have all of these combinations and you own the name, and you could just do it again.
Take on Thanos, the wrestling world. He's like, fine, fuck it, I'll do it myself.
I mean, they started with that. I could to think that we can get an AEW produced show that I would hope that if they ever did something like that where it becomes like a 4-company thing in a way, that we would have some matches that are not AEW contracted. Like, how great would it just be to be an AEW show to get like an Impact versus New Japan, just one match. I'm not saying multiple. Yeah. I know if they're the one footing it, you're going to get a lot of promotion when it comes to AEW, but like to just think that might potentially be possible. Like what we imagine Survivor Series is for WWE, we legit could get some long-term huge pay-per-view with all these companies involved. And this is just step one. I know All In was technically step one, but this is step one because this is actual companies probably. I mean, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here to say the 2 biggest non-WWE companies working together, and no knock on Impact. They're not on either one of their levels.
3 because he bought one of them.
Yeah, but I mean, they're promoting it as AEW New Japan. Yeah. So, Impact is not worldwide. Is not on New Japan's level, and they're not on AEW's level. So you're probably talking the next 2 top wrestling companies doing a super show. Yeah. It's insane. It's insane. Yeah. You assume they were more likely to steal Okada than to fucking put on a super show.
Honestly, yeah. No, 100%. Like, again, or the Undertaker, Mark Calloway, not as Mark Calloway, like literally he has a name, The Undertaker, for some reason, is in AEW. Like that seems more likely. We did
an old episode. I don't remember the number, but we did an old episode when it first got announced that Undertaker was going to be at one of that weekend long event or whatever. The Starcast,
Starcast, yeah. He was an AEW event, but
it was before one of their pay-per-views, and it was and he was announced there, and we did this whole thing about like how great would it be, and I remember talking to Walton and saying if we're ever going to get a Sting Undertaker match, it's going to have to happen here, and this is step number 1, and then they ended up having them pull out of it because they did. But like it was, it had that possibility, and now we see now that Undertaker would have never actually wrestled outside of there, but it left us that glimmer of hope. But yeah, now it's insane. I'm
gonna put a Impact wrestler out there, and this is only for Walton as we end this show. What if Matt Cardona shows up with all 18 belts that he has now. And guess what? Who do you bring? Nick Aldis. Now we get NWA.
Yeah,
AWA,
see, that's what. Like, could you imagine?
AEW.
They said, could you imagine a Survivor Series style event where you're just sitting there and it's fucking Cardona, Gresham, Hangman, Okada, just all standing there from each other, just all standing there. Yeah, and now this is huge news, but I think more because it opens up the possibility of all that. It's insane.
The forbidden door is truly open now.
Yeah. And that I can only. It's weird to think that, like, oh my god, the next AEW pay-per-view is going to end to lead to this. What the hell is going to lead at the end of the forbidden door? They don't need to debut guys anymore.
shows up.
They don't need to debut guys anymore, and now it's just about. I mean, it's a debut, but it's not an AEW signing. It's just like you said, Cardona showing up at the end of Forbidden Door of an Okada Hangman match, just coming out, and there you go, no winner,
holding the real world's title.
Yeah, Cardona comes out and just destroys that main event. You got no winner, no loser. It puts huge heat on him. And it puts even bigger heat on him because it's
Cardona's
like you just fucked up. Yeah, you just fucked up the champion against champion match. It's just
just robbed every wrestling fan.
It's so yeah. The possibility is endless, and this just goes to show you how huge this is because we were going to talk a little bit about the Dynamite next week, which I'm sure will probably be our next pay per view. Our next episode, talking about it because we will be there live next Wednesday.
Yeah,
so
I gotta see what's available to bring because maybe we can vlog. I guess we have our phones though. We could just
what we need to do is we gotta talk Jared in the drive instead of taking an Uber, and then if we just sit in the back seat and we record.
Yes, let's do that, Jeremy. Do that because
Jared,
I don't
expect
have
a
lot
text.
of money.
Yeah, Jared,
this week coming.
Jared, I'll pay you as much as I was going to pay the Uber, so you could
pay you Friday after when I get paid.
The funny thing is, he's going to be the one that we're going to be waiting for, like we usually do, because. But either way, you have anything else to say on this huge, humongous, other than it being in Chicago and it should be in Philly?
God, it should be Philly. It really should be. This is kind of bullshit. No, man. I mean, this is incredible. Like you mentioned, this is bigger than you think it is. Even if it doesn't seem so. Like this is literally it's baby steps to get to big things. Like this will lead to Okada on AEW TV. This is insane.
Yeah.
There's a good chance this is leading to Omega versus Okada 4 or 5 at this point, right? This is possibly leading to O'Reilly versus Kushida yet again. This is, just the world is now the wrestling world is such an oyster, and there's so many new fans.
Kenta Punk is a match thought we would never see.
Mm-hmm.
It's weirdly
Tana Hoshi versus Sting.
And maybe this is Kenta Punk in my mind is the new age Sting Undertaker in the sense that you just assumed you were never going to get it. Punk retired, you thought he was done with wrestling, you just thought this is never going to happen. And the fact that not only can it happen, it's not like Sting going to WWE where it's like, it can happen, but it's going to be two old men in the ring together.
Yeah.
And just not a knock on either one of the guys because for their age, they both wrestle brilliantly, but it's not what you wanted. I think you could still get what you wanted out of Kenta and Punk right now.
Yeah.
So I think that it won't headline this, but man, would that be an excellent starter of the night to get Kenta and Punk just starting things off is
I'll tell you right now,
crazy.
The second that pay-per-view starts and the second that bell rings, it's literally gonna be Omega versus Danielson, where the crowd just freaks out.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes straight, like freaks out, and no one touches each other.
Yeah,
this is the thing. Like they're gonna be there's gonna be this is awesome champs
Yeah.
out of nowhere. There's gonna be like all this random shit that's gonna happen, and Dave Meltzer's probably dead. He's gonna die. Like the second the pay-per-view starts, he's just gonna jizz stars everywhere.
It is already
dies.
It is already 6 stars. The whole night is already 6 stars.
Every match 6 stars. Like literally, CM Punk open face farted in Kenta's face.
Hold on, what's
the end of the match?
What's his highest
7
ranking?
stars.
7. What's his highest ranking?
I think he's gives 6. I think that might.
Okay.
The 5 is where it's supposed to be. He's giving 6 or 7.
Give us Okada Omega. That will be the highest rated. Of all time.
You can hear him die. Like if you just listen outside, you just hear like an old man.
He right now is calling Tony Khan saying, "You want the most stars in history? Give me Okada Omega.
Give me what I want." It's like Batista. But yeah, no, this is the start of something big, and then on that as well, this could be the start of it in Philly at AEW. And if you're gonna be there and you listen to the show, if you see us, say hi. We'll take photos. Whatever. We're pretty popular. Okay.
Yeah.
People like us.
I know we recorded this on Thursday. Unfortunately, this probably will not drop until Saturday, maybe even Sunday. Unfortunately, this is what happens when I start working at work and I don't have the access to edit this as quickly as possible. But yeah, so on that note, huge news. If you want to give us tickets, they're not even on sale yet. They go on sale May 6th. If you want to buy tickets and give them to us, I mean, I'll start a Patreon right now just for us. Yeah. And no layers of anything. Just give us tickets.
Just give us tickets. We'll give you a shout out. We'll leave
yeah. You want unlimited shout outs all in one show? Yeah, it's yours.
Every 2 minutes we'll shout you.
Yeah. So on that note, we'll see you when we see it.